Welcome to the $1 Billion Movie Club, Barbie. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today I got a big one. I am doing a tier list ranking of all 53 $1 Billion Club movies. Barbie is the most recent movie to join this club, and before I get into this tier list, be sure to hit that like button. Comment down below your favorite and least favorite $1 Billion Club movies, as well as what tiers you would place them in. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 85,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And check out my Patreon link down below for extra content, the Discord server, and lots of other fun stuff. Anything goes a long way over there. But without further ado, let's dive right into this massive tier list ranking. Alright, so the tiers I have today are S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, F tier, and haven't seen. Because there's like 5 of the movies on this list that I actually have just never watched for whatever reason. But I've seen the overwhelming majority of these movies. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off. These are in random order, by the way, with Joker. This is the film that got nominated for multiple Oscars. Joaquin Phoenix won the Oscar for playing Arthur Fleck / Joker. We're getting a sequel next year, a musical sequel introducing Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. I'm going to put this movie in B tier. I really enjoyed it. I saw it once in theaters, excuse me. It's haunting. The movie really disturbed me and made me feel gross inside after watching it. For that reason, it's not very rewatchable. I do think it's a little slower paced at times for my liking, but it's got a hauntingly good score. It's a very well put together movie, and I don't think it really is one of those movies that needs a sequel, but it did $1 billion at the box office, so of course it is getting one. Moving on, we've got Skyfall. This is my first or second favorite James Bond film. It is a highlight of the Daniel Craig run as Bond. It's just an action-packed, high-intensity movie that gets Bond right. I'm going to put this in A tier. I think this and Casino Royale are the two top dog Bond films, for me personally at least. Moving on, we've got Alice in Wonderland. This is the first haven't seen. I'm throwing it down there right now. I think I've seen clips from it. I've never actually even seen the original animated film. Like, I've seen tons of Disney movies in my life. I love going to Disney. I love the movies. I just never watched Alice in Wonderland. Am I ashamed of it? A little bit. More so of the animated version than the Tim Burton film, because I'm not like a huge Tim Burton fan, but I've heard the movie's okay, but it managed to do $1 billion, and it did get a sequel that I, of course, have not seen yet. Moving on, we've got Captain Marvel. That's right, this movie did $1 billion at the box office. The Marvels comes out later this year. Really interested to see how that one turns out. Will it do $1 billion again, or will it be a flop? Who knows with the current state of the MCU. I'm going to put Captain Marvel in the... I'm going to go D tier with this movie. It's lower tier MCU for me, and there are highlight moments. You know, Goose, lovable kitty, aka Flurkin. You've got Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. The de-aging technology works for me, and him and Carol's chemistry really carries the film for me. But a lot of the film is just so jumbled to me. It's got a horrible villain reveal and a pretty weak third act. Carol isn't particularly likable in this movie. I think Brie Larson's giving it her all, and that character has really progressed for me since this movie. But I was never crazy about Captain Marvel. It's one of my least rewatched MCU films, and it feels so bland, like almost an MCU movie that was meant to come out in like 2009, but it somehow came out in 2019. Anyway, it's never been one of the higher-ups for me in the MCU. Next, we got Spider-Man Far From Home. This is, I think, the weakest live-action Spider-Man film, but there's still a lot to love here. Tom Holland is great in this role. Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio fully commits. I look at these tiers, I go, it's definitely not F tier, but it's not S tier. So where do I place it from there? I'm thinking C tier right now. Again, there's not a bad Spider-Man movie. I think this is got its moments to shine. It does strip away some of the key Spider-Man sort of characteristics, though. Not a lot of web swinging in this movie, no New York. So it could get a little frustrating at times. This movie takes risks, and the third act, like the drone sequence, I always thought that was neat. So it's enjoyable enough, but it's not amazing. I used to have this movie a bit higher, but a recent rewatch sort of dropped it in my overall Spidey ranking. Moving on, though, we've got Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, which did $1 billion. This is proof that the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie would have done $1.5 to $2 billion, and is to this day, and might forever be, the biggest missed opportunity at the box office for Disney. No clue why they decided to make it a Disney Plus show. It would have been $1 billion film. Anyway, Rogue One is... that's tough for me. I've seen the movie 3 or 4 times in my life. The Darth Vader hallway scene at the end is the big draw of this movie for me. It is interesting to sort of see the fault of the Death Star and the backstory behind it. Like, there have obviously been the jokes. This movie exists to take care of a plot hole from A New Hope, which I can sort of see. My one thing with this movie is difficult to connect with a lot of these characters, but the Cassian Andor show, Andor, is really taking care of a lot of that for me. So I would go B, honestly, with Rogue One. I think Joker's a bit of a better movie right now, but Rogue One is a solid watch, and the more I think about it, the more I like it. The Andor show is definitely amping it up for me, me, and that Vader scene carries a lot of weight. I've never adored Rogue One. I've kind of said mixed things on it. It's like anywhere from B to C, but how I feel right now, I'm comfortable putting it in the B tier. I've always thought it's overrated, though. People say it's the best Star Wars movie. It is not, in my opinion. Next, we've got Despicable Me 3. This is another movie I haven't seen, so I'm gonna go throw it in that tier. I've seen the first two Despicable Me's. I never saw the Minions movies. They've never really been that big of an appeal to me, so for that reason, I just don't go see them, honestly. But they do billions, so maybe I need to watch them one day. Next, we got Furious 7. This should have been the final Fast and Furious movie. It was a beautiful send-off to Paul Walker. I'm not a huge Fast and Furious guy. This is one of the better movies, though. I honestly would probably go, like, C tier with it. Like, I think that it's a fine enough movie. It's got some memorable moments, and I have to, like, pay respects to the ending, like, montage to Paul Walker and them driving their separate ways. Like, that alone warrants it C tier, at least. I can't say the same for Fate of the Furious. I would say this movie is... I don't know if I can go F tier with it, just because I remember enjoying myself a bit in the theater, and it's like so stupid at times I could laugh at it. This is where the franchise really gets extremely outlandish, though. Again, I'm not a huge Fast and Furious guy. I would go D tier with this, and if the two movies are put next to each other right now, I'm actually going to watch Captain Marvel over Fate of the Furious. So D tier for Fate of the Furious. Never been one of my favorite movies in that franchise. That franchise has fallen so far from grace, by the way. Anyway, next we got The Phantom Menace. Look, I'm a homer for this movie. I will admit my nostalgia bias, my childhood. I love the prequel trilogy, and I still do. The Clone Wars really adds a lot to that entire trilogy. You guys can call me crazy. This is my tier list, so I'm going to do what I want. This is all my personal preference ranking. I'm going to say, you know what? Phantom Menace is a movie I'm watching right now over Rogue One, so I'm putting it right here. And you know what? I'm putting it over Joker. I don't even care. This is my personal preference, so deal with it in the comments down below. But I adore The Phantom Menace. It's flawed heavily, but you've got a fantastic John Williams score. Darth Maul's introduction here is amazing, and the Clone Wars and Rebels show adds so much to his depth as a character. And we get to see Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson, the young Obi-Wan. There's a lot to learn about the Jedi in this film. I adore Phantom Menace, so it's going top of E tier for me, and that's probably the first really hot take on here, but, you know, I don't care. It's how I feel. Next, we got Toy Story 3. This is a damn near S tier film. Actually, you know what? Toy Story 3 is a god tier film. It's the first S tier for me. Literally, this is like the first or second best Pixar film. It is god tier, so it goes in S tier. I mean, this film, so long, partner, the final moments bring me to tears almost every single time I watch it. This is the definitive Toy Story ending. We got an epilogue with Toy Story 4, and we're getting a fifth film. Extremely unnecessary. But Toy Story 3 is beautiful. Lots of hug and bears, an elite Pixar villain. It's a story that resonates with me because I sort of struggle with moving on in life, and change is scary, but this movie reminds us that it's all going to be okay in the end. It's a necessary part of life. It's a beautiful, masterfully made film from Pixar. It's going in S tier, you already know. Next we got Aquaman. This is a movie that did $1 billion somehow. It's fine. Look, I've seen the movie once. I didn't see it in theaters, but I was like, this movie's fine. I would say I think I'd watch it over Captain Marvel, but it's the more I think about it, I'm like, look, Aquaman is probably a D tier film. I'll go top of D tier. Like, I think I was okay on it when I first saw it, but I've not thought about it since, and I've actually seen clips of the movie. I'm like, whoa, this movie's not good. So top of D tier for Aquaman feels fitting, you know? Not the absolute worst movie I've ever seen. Has some enjoyment value, but I'm never really going to go back to this one. Next, we got Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Look, I am a huge Pirates guy. The trilogy is perfect to me, and Dead Man's Chest is almost my favorite Pirates movie. So I look at this tier list and I go, man, I adore this movie. Does it go S tier or does it go A tier? It's so difficult for me. It's incredibly difficult for me. I think I go top of A tier. I love Dead Man's Chest, but I don't know if I can put it on the god tier level just because I look at some of the other movies on this tier list and I go, I think Dead Man's Chest is so close, but A tier is still fantastic. This movie's like a 4.5 out of 5 star movie for me. Damn near 5 out of 5. You get the introduction of Davy Jones, the Kraken. It expands the lore of this Pirates trilogy. I love this film, and I might move it to S tier by the end of this video, honestly. We'll have to see, but top of A feels appropriate for right now. Next, we got Jurassic World Dominion. The marketing for this movie worked. It made $1 billion. It did the No Way Home thing, bringing back, you know, Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum, Laura Dern, everyone sort of reuniting. But the meshing of the older characters with the new characters is so forced. There's no chemistry between them, no real connective tissue between them. I'm going F tier with this movie. I remember being just bored by it, and wondering where are the dinosaurs? This is a Jurassic film, right? But it turns out to be a film about locusts. What? Makes no sense to me. Overly long and stupid. By far the worst Jurassic film in my opinion. Moving on though, we've got Spider-Man No Way Home. This is one of the most hyped up movies ever. I adore it still. It's my favorite Spider-Man film, and people can say what they want about it. It's how I feel. It's my opinion. That's not changing anytime soon. It gave us all 3 Spider-Men, but they don't just serve as nostalgia. They serve a purpose in Tom Holland's Peter Parker's arc. They bring him back from the ashes. We get to see some awesome third act action, some really emotional moments, and callbacks for fans of Spider-Man. This is like the ultimate Spider-Man movie in my mind, and because of that, of course, it's going in S tier. I mean, I have no other choice but to put it in S tier. And I'd probably have to say it's top of S tier right now. Like, No Way Home is that special to me. I will never not cherish this movie. It means the world to me, and then some. Then we got Frozen 2. Never been a big Frozen guy. The first movie I actually really enjoy. The second movie, though, not really for me. If I'm being honest, and I'm going to be honest here, Frozen 2 is like not good. I'm putting it in top of D tier. I think that it's, got a soundtrack that's more memorable than anything from these 3 movies, but the movie is such a snoozer. I saw it on like my birthday for some reason, and like early morning screening on my birthday when it came out with my girlfriend, and I was like, this movie is like putting me to sleep right now. Such a step down from the first Frozen. I don't want to harp on it too much just because I don't care. I really don't even feel like speaking on it anymore. But it gave us Into the Unknown, which is a good song, so that I'll put it in D tier. But Frozen 2, eh. Next we got The Hobbit: Unexpected Journey, the first Hobbit movie. I actually enjoyed this one a lot. It's definitely not my favorite Hobbit movie, but it is grand in scale. It feels Middle Earth to me, and we get a lot of Gollum here in sort of the latter part of the film. I would probably go back of B tier with or you know what? Top of C tier with Unexpected Journey. I can't go B just because I think that it is overly long at times, and I don't adore the fact that they don't have some more of the practical effects of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I do think the Hobbit trilogy is over-hated. This is like middle of the road tier. I'm totally fine with that. Unexpected Journey is a harmless movie. It's not amazing to me, but top of C tier definitely feels appropriate because it's like, oh, it's middle of the road, I enjoyed my time with it, but it is flawed at the same time. Next we got Avengers Endgame, S tier, top of S tier right now. This is my second favorite MCU movie. It's a movie that perfectly tied a bow on years of my life. Like, I remember seeing pretty much every MCU movie from Iron Man 2 onward in theaters, so seeing a closure to Tony Stark, to Captain America, to Natasha, all these characters had endings, some tragic, some beautiful. It is the epic conclusion to the MCU in my mind. Like, everything after is just bonus. That's sort of the way I'm looking at it, No Way Home, Guardians 3, but this is the real ending to the MCU, so of course it's going top of S tier, and I don't care. That's how I feel. I love this movie, and I always will. Next, we got Beauty and the Beast, the live-action remake. One of the better live-action remakes with a banger of a soundtrack that I listen to in my car quite frequently, actually. We're going B tier with this movie. Now, where in B tier is the question. I enjoy it a lot, guys. I really do. I'd probably have to say... Man, this is difficult. I'll throw it right here for now, just because I don't rewatch as much as I used to, but I mean, B tier regardless for Beauty and the Beast. B seems fitting, right, for Beauty and the Beast. Love the cast, one of the best casts for a live-action Disney film, and such a great soundtrack. Evermore gives me chills. That addition of that song, because it's not in the original movie, the addition of that song, chef's kiss. Next we got Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I respect this movie for sort of breaking from the Jurassic formula and giving us a bit of a spooky movie at the end, but it's so ridiculously stupid I'm putting it in F tier. I still think it's better than Dominion, but it's such a bad movie. Like, both of these movies stink compared to Jurassic World. I liked the first hour of Fallen Kingdom, and then it just fell off for me, but they're both just really bad movies that I'll never watch again. Jurassic Park, which we'll talk about in a second, is so far above the rest of the Jurassic franchise. It's honestly comical. But next we got Incredibles 2. Look, I enjoy this movie quite a bit. I never understood the hate that it got. Like, it's not as good as the first Incredibles, which is a classic Pixar movie, but this movie still has its moments to shine. It's like right on the brink of top 10 Pixar for me, and because of that, I'm going B tier with it. I'm going pretty high in B tier. Like, I really like Incredibles 2. I would probably have to say, man, this is difficult the more I think about it. I would probably have to say right here for now, because Joker's damn good, and I'm a big Homer fan of Menace, so that's not going anywhere. It'll get topped eventually, but Incredibles 2, middle of B tier, feels appropriate right now. It is a very fitting sequel. I'm not sure why we haven't got a third yet, because the second one did $1 billion, and the third would definitely do $1 billion. I mean, Cars got a trilogy. We have 4 Toy Story movies. Why are we not getting a third? Incredibles, it kind of blows my mind, actually. But middle of B tier feels good. Shout out Bob Odenkirk for his voice acting in this film. Next, we got Jurassic Park. Look, I love Jurassic Park so much. It's a 5 out of 5 movie for me. And honestly, I think I have to go S tier. Back of S tier right now. It's a God tier movie. It launched the entire Jurassic franchise, but it changed the game for visual effects and film. Like, I can only imagine how cool it would have been to see this movie on the big screen. I wish I could have, you know, and one day maybe I will. But it is one of those revolutionary movies that is the definitive dinosaur movie. Nothing will ever top Jurassic Park in that franchise, and it's going to be that way for a long time. So shout out Jurassic Park. Next, we've got Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. The movie that derailed the entire Star Wars fandom forever. Look, this is a bad movie, and I will argue pretty much with anyone about why it's a bad movie. Portions of this movie, over an hour plus of this movie, doesn't need to be in the film, and it would be the same exact movie. It doesn't handle Luke Skywalker properly, in my opinion. I am not a fan of Canto Bight, obviously. A lot of this movie is lame. A lot of stupid characters are introduced, and the main plot never really did it for me. So I'm going F tier with Last Jedi. I'll put it at the top of F tier. I think it's more watchable than these two movies, but it's heavily flawed, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, wow, that movie's bad. Like, I was in denial for so long. It is a truly bad movie, and it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Next, we got Barbie, the newest addition to the $1 Billion Club. Ryan Gosling's going to get nominated for an Oscar. Margot probably will, and I think behind the scenes, this film will get nominated for a lot of things. I don't adore this movie. I think it's really solid. It's got an important message that hits home with a lot of people out there watching. It is a hilarious film at times, so it sort of juggles the serious moments with comedy, but at times that can create these clashing tones that don't fully work for me. And I think the movie does try and beat the audience over the head a bit with the main message. Like, we understand what it's getting at. Then certain scenes will be like looking at the camera, trying to tell you, hey, this is the message you need to take home from this movie. And it's like, we got that, you know, you didn't have to be so on the nose with it. I'm looking at these films, I think it's a solid watch. I didn't love Barbie though. It's a solid watch. I'd go like literally middle of this tier, I think is appropriate. Top of C tier for Barbie. Brink of B almost, but top of C feels appropriate right now. Because the more I think about this movie, the more I'm like, it was good. I don't know if I'm going to watch it for the foreseeable future, but it was a good enough time. So top of C tier feels appropriate. Next we got The Dark Knight. I mean, come on. This is a 5 out of 5, arguably the greatest comic book film ever made. I'll put it right here for now. Top of S tier behind Endgame, just because it comes down to personal preference, and I think I'd watch Endgame over The Dark Knight. But yeah, it's going top tier, S tier. You guys already know it's a game changer. Heath Ledger's Joker. I've said everything I need to say. You guys know this was S tier from the moment this video started. But next we got Black Panther, the first Black Panther film. I'll go somewhere in B tier for Black Panther. Let me go like right here. I think feels appropriate right now. We'll go right here. I think Rogue One over it. Eerily enough, like it's the same plot as The Lion King. If you go, I've seen a video sort of comparing the two, but either way, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. He was so great as T'Challa, and the movie has some great moments. So I say B tier for Black Panther. Next, we got Avatar: The Way of Water. This movie's bad. Like it's not good. I do not enjoy my time with this film. It's overly long, and portions of it are just people swimming in the water, and it's a rehash of the first Avatar. People like to title me an Avatar hater. Maybe I am. I just never understand the craze. I really don't. Frankly, I genuinely cannot put this movie any higher than, I think like right here. F tier. Like, I did not enjoy my time. It was unpleasant in the theater for this. I literally felt nauseous by the end because of how long the movie was for no good reason. Next, we got Transformers: Age of Extinction. This is the worst movie on this list so far. I put it back here. It's so unbelievably awful. I saw it in theaters and I was like, this needs to end. I can't do this anymore. It's not a huge Transformers guy anyway, but Age of Extinction stunk, and I never will watch it again, so it's going back of F tier. The worst movie on this list so far. Then we've got the first Jurassic World, the only decent Jurassic World. It's a fun movie, far from perfect, and nowhere near the quality of the first Jurassic Park, but I would say Jurassic World, I'll go top of C tier with it. Like, again, I enjoy the movie a lot. It's such a step up from the other two, but I can't go B tier because I look at what I have in there. I'm like, no way, it's not in the same quality as that. So Chris Pratt's charisma really carries this movie, but even then, his character isn't the most easy to connect with or anything. There's not any great characters in this film. That's why I like Jurassic Park, is the characters, they're lacking in Jurassic World, unfortunately. They got some cool big old dinosaurs and CGI fights, but other than that, I was never like super crazy over the moon about it. It's definitely the second best Jurassic film, but that's not saying much because a lot of them are pretty big drop-offs from the first. Next, we got Zootopia. Sorry to break you guys' heart, I haven't seen it. I know, what? Everyone always gets up in arms when I say that one, but it's just one I never watched for some reason. There was a phase where I just didn't go see like Disney animated movies. This was during that. I was like, I'm just not going to go see it. So totally missed on the Zootopia train. It's on my watch list, but maybe one day I'll get around to it. Then we've got Top Gun Maverick, one of the highest grossing films of all time. I believe it's number 12 in the all-time charts, or 11. Look, this movie saved cinemas last year. It is one of, if not the singular, most rewatchable films ever made. I could watch it right now. It's that damn good. Tom Cruise commits. It's visually so stunning how they shot the film. It's immersive. It is a proper legacy sequel that respects the original while creating these new characters. And it's a beautiful movie. Like, I'm tearing up thinking about how great the ending is. God, this is an S tier movie if I've ever seen one. I'm going pretty high in S tier. I think I like Top Gun Maverick more than No Way Home. I think I like Top Gun Maverick about right there. Like, Dark Knight's revolutionary, and Endgame is just, I mean, it's so OP on this ranking. Endgame is the definitive MCU movie almost, like that and Infinity War, which we'll talk about in a second. But Top Gun Maverick, S tier. It's a God tier movie. It always will be. Then we got Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. This movie stinks. It's really bad. Almost the worst. Like, I'm not even lying to you. I'm putting this right here. Like, as much as as much as I love Jack Sparrow, you know what? Actually, these movies are bad. I'll put it right here. This movie, because of Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, it's more watchable than these movies, but this movie stinks. Like, everything in F tier to me is just a bad movie, and On Stranger Tides is horrible. Like, they make just Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow so irritating, and in the first 3 films, you've got Will and Elizabeth to kind of carry a lot of the weight in the main plot. They're almost the main characters, and Jack's sort of a supporting guy. In this, he's got a completely different role and just doesn't work. He's never really meant to be the main leading man, and he is in this movie, and it just doesn't work. Next, we got the Lion King live-action remake. Lifeless, money grab, no heart compared to the first, and a cheap film. Like, I genuinely dislike this movie with all my heart. I'm putting this in F tier, and I'm honestly gonna put it almost out of spite at the back of F tier, literally. Like, I genuinely, that movie disgusts me. Its existence. It's the biggest cash grab of all time. It is a shot-for-shot, essentially, remake of the original with hyper-realistic animation, but there's no heart, there's no emotion, I feel nothing when I watch this movie. I simply am not there. Transformers Dark of the Moon, one of the better Transformers movies that I remembered enjoying. Still a D-tier movie, probably, if I look at the quality of film and every other tier, but I'd put it like over Fast and Furious 8, Fate of the Furious. Like, I enjoy Shia's performance so much and the Transformers action, but I doubt I'll ever watch this movie again. It's better than the second one, though, and it's better than the Mark Wahlberg ones that I've seen, so not a terrible movie, but definitely not anything special at all. Then we've got Titanic, a movie everyone should watch at least once in their lives. Iconic. This is James Cameron's direction. It's the 3rd or 4th highest grossing movie ever made, I believe. I really like this film. It's a very well put together movie, and because of that, it's going in A tier. It deserves that spot in A tier. This is one of the most iconic movies ever made, and most people have seen it at least once in their lives. It's A tier. Is it one of my personal favorites? No. But because it is so good, it's got to go in A tier. Finding Dory is a Pixar sequel to Finding Nemo. This movie was never amazing to me. It's a C tier movie. Not bad. Really a worthy follow-up, in my opinion. Nothing was going to top the first Finding Nemo, but where in C tier? Probably right here, you know. I think that it is a decent enough little cute, fun movie. It pulls on the heartstrings, but it's nowhere near the level of Finding Nemo. So, C tier. That's appropriate. Then we got Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Look, this is a God tier conclusion to Harry Potter. Anyone who says otherwise, I think, is delusional. It's going really high. I mean, I love this movie. I'm putting it right here. Shoot. I'm putting it right here. Right here. Yeah, pretty high in S tier. This is my second favorite Harry Potter movie, only behind Prisoner of Azkaban. This is how you do a conclusion. It wraps up everything beautifully. You've got some of the most epic moments in the franchise. It is a beautiful send-off to these characters. Again, I'm a sucker for conclusions. You'll see that a few more times here on this list, but God, do I love Deathly Hallows Part 2. It's a God tier movie. Civil War. Top 5 MCU movie, but I can't go S tier with it. I'm going top of A tier. Just because I look at the other films in S tier, I'm like, Civil War is damn good, but it's like right on the brink of being God tier, because then it just gets to a point of me throwing everything in God tier, and I can't do that. So, it's literally the top of A tier. That is a fantastic movie, tackles conflict better than most in the MCU, but I can't go fully to S tier. It's right on the brink, though. Right on the brink. A tier is like the 9.5, and this is like the 10 out of 10 range. Next, we've got Iron Man 3. What a disappointment this movie was. I've never been crazy about it, but the more I sit with it, the more I'm like, it still has RDJ as Tony Stark, and that alone warrants it a spot in C tier. I'd probably go, I think I like Far From Home more, so I put it like right here in C tier, but Far From Home is better, and Iron Man 3, a lot of people try and say, oh, it's actually a top 10 MCU movie. I'm like, that's delusional. Like, I love Iron Man. He's my favorite character in the MCU, but I acknowledge that his movies aren't the greatest, aside from the first, which is top 3 MCU. Infinity War is next. This is my favorite MCU movie, and because of that, it's going at the top of S tier. This is a God tier movie. I mean, Infinity War Endgame, the 1-2 punch of, you know, the MCU. I mean, come on. This is the movie where Thanos wins. I adore it. I always will. I have the posters on my wall over there. It's one of my favorite movies. Infinity War Endgame is just on a different level. These two movies were a cultural event. I don't think the MCU will ever reach this height, and it was just a period in time you had to be there, you know? Nothing will ever reach this level of hype, I don't think, ever again. It was incredible. Both movies worked for me, and it is a wonderful two-part conclusion to the MCU. Next, we got Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. This is a god-tier movie, you guys already know. Now, where does it go is the question. I think it's over Jurassic Park, over Toy Story 3, over No Way Home, over Top Gun Maverick, and that's where I start to question where does it go. I love it, don't get me wrong, but this is based on personal preference. I want to make that emphasis really clear. I'm going to put it right here for now. I think I take Dark Knight, Infinity War Endgame, and Deathly Hallows 1 over it, but it's still an incredible achievement in filmmaking. It won multiple Oscars, including Best Picture. It is one of the greatest films ever made. I'm not going to deny that. It's just, I go personally, I think I like the Harry Potter conclusion a bit more, and then the Dark Knight, and then, of course, the MCU conclusion, so it had to be an S tier. It was always S tier. The battles in this film, elite, and just what a beautiful, like, chillingly good conclusion. My friends, you bow to no one. Chills every time. Damn near tears every time. Then we got Avatar, D tier. I think I actually enjoy it more than some of the movies on there. Like, I would put it, it's not the worst thing ever. I would put it like top of D tier. I think it's actually a better movie than Avatar: The Way of Water. Visual effects, obviously, are why people only ever really talk about this movie, and then people get so defensive when people trash on it, but in reality, the only times people go see Avatar movies are in theaters. No one's like talking about them at home for some reason. No one will talk about The Way of Water until 10 or 15 years from now, whenever the next Avatar movie eventually comes out. I think it's slated for like 2025. No way that happens. Anyway though, Avatar is fine. It's fine. Borderline bad, that's why it's in D tier. The Force Awakens was a blast, such a delight to watch in theaters, and I have to separate this movie from the sequel trilogy that tried to taint the rest of it for me. Look, I really enjoyed my time with this in theaters. I like the movie quite a bit. I think I go B tier with it right now though, just because again, time passes and the sequel trilogy does taint it a little bit for me. I'd put it like right here. I think I take it over Rogue One right now, but I don't know. It's tough. It's really difficult because I do enjoy the movie quite a bit, but in reality, I just can't go too high with it because I know where everything that unfolds in this movie ends up going. I'm like, ooh. Then we got Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I'm putting this in dead last. I hate it. Everything about it. It is an abysmal movie. It's cheap. It doesn't exist in my brain. I don't think I can ever stomach watching this again. It is that bad. It offends me to my core, and the movie's awful. Horrible movie. The first Avengers film is special. It still holds up on rewatch to this day. I think people try and dismiss this movie for some reason. It's still amazing, and because of that, it's genuinely going in A tier. I'll put it like right here in A tier, just because I do think that I take these films over it. But Avengers deserves a spot in A tier. Avengers Assemble, A tier. It's a match. Come on. We got Loki as the villain, some hilarious moments, and it is just classic MCU. It deserves a spot in A tier. Much like this classic film, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which is also going in A tier, I'm going to put this film, ooh, this is tough because this is like the OG one, the one I've probably seen the most out of the Harry Potter films. Chris Columbus directed it. It's got that nostalgic feeling to it. I'm going to put this one right here in A tier. I take it over Titanic. I adore this movie. It's small-scale Harry Potter, just kind of dipping our toe in the water of what the Wizarding World will become, but it does a great job of building out this world and is such a rewatchable movie that I gotta go A tier with Sorcerer's Stone. Next we got Minions, another movie I haven't seen, and again, I don't know if I'll ever watch Minions, but I know the memes are real, so it's almost like there's this big Minions cult out there in the world. Next we have the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which came out this year and joined the $1 Billion Club in April or May, I believe. Look, I wasn't crazy about this movie. I know a lot of people love it. I thought it was the epitome of product placement in a movie that's like, oh, I'm not even going to try and mask the fact that we're just making this movie to make $1 billion. Here's every Nintendo reference in the world with an okay story that essentially rips off a bunch of other animated movies and does nothing original. Wasn't crazy about this at all, and I gotta go D tier with it, honestly. I don't know where D tier. Like, the movie was not amazing. I think I'd go like right here, I guess. Like, I guess I would watch these movies over those, but even then, I'm actually gonna shift Aquaman up because I think that's more watchable than it. But no, I think D tier for that movie. Just not crazy about it at all. And I enjoy Mario Kart and some of the Mario games, but the movie was just so like lifeless to me. It was like, oh, product placement, the movie. I couldn't do it. Next, we got the live-action Aladdin. This is the last movie on this list that I have not seen, so I'm throwing it in that tier right now. Let me know if I should watch it in the comments down below. I really enjoyed the first Aladdin, but I never watched this because I didn't want it to taint my thoughts of it, especially Will Smith as Genie when Robin Williams is the GOAT Genie. I was like, I don't know if I want to watch that movie. It looked a little stupid to me when it came out, but I've heard good things, so if you guys think it's worth watching, let me know. Toy Story 4 is a movie that has soured with me the more I sit with it. I really liked it at first, but then I was like, wait a second. Nope. And I was in denial, I think, at first. I was like, oh, I gotta like this movie. And the more I sat with it, the more I thought about it, I was like, it's definitely flawed. I don't know if it's awful. I think it's probably gotta go C tier, right above Finding Dory, because, I mean, it has moments. But then I think about it, there's no Woody and Buzz in this film, really. There's hardly any of the OG Toy Story gang in this film. It's all like Bo Peep, Woody, and then like Gabby, which was just an irritating new addition. There's a lot of new toys introduced here, but it's not a Toy Story movie. It should have been called Woody, because it's all about him. The Dark Knight Rises is an epic, satisfying conclusion to the Dark Knight trilogy, a movie that's overhated, not only in terms of that trilogy, but in terms of Nolan's overall filmography. It's an A-tier movie, and frankly, I think I have to go fairly high in A-tier. I don't know. This is difficult. We've got some great movies up in that A tier. I'd go right above the Avengers almost. Like, this movie's fantastic. Actually, I'd go over Dark Knight Rises even, or excuse me, over Skyfall. This movie rules. Bane is the villain, and he's menacing. It contains one of the most uplifting scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. Like, I adore The Dark Knight Rises. I think I have it at 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but I look at it and I go, I can't go ultimately S tier with it. And it's close, but I just can't do it right now. I can't. It's so close, but man, I just can't put it in S tier. The ending, though, gives me chills. Michael Caine as Alfred, great performance. And all around, everyone brought their A game here. This is how you do a conclusion. It is damn near 3 hours, epic. The opening plane scene, I mean, I literally could sit here and just spew how good this movie is, and another is the hate that it actually gets. There are only 2 movies left, though. One of them is Frozen, which is obviously iconic nowadays with the music. Look, I really enjoy Frozen. I would probably put it in like B tier, back of B tier, just because I do think it's a good movie. It's overrated in terms of being one of the best Disney movies ever made, but it's a really solid movie. Like, if you guys haven't watched this or you haven't seen it in a while, watch it. There's a twist in this movie that'll have you shook, I promise. So it's a well put together movie, and it does feel like classic Disney at times, so I have to pay respect where it's due. Look, I know it can be cringe or whatever, I know it's overplayed, all the music and that stuff, but look, it is a good movie, a very solid movie, which is why it's in the B tier. But the last movie on this list is Avengers Age of Ultron. This is a underrated MCU movie. I think it's almost become overrated now. People love to say it's like top tier MCU. It isn't. It's still flawed, and there's a lot of scenes in here that feel like they're setting up nothing, and the movie can meander at times. I like Ultron as villain, but my favorite part of Age of Ultron is seeing the Avengers team as like a family. We're seeing them have conversations, just, you know, joking with each other, but we see them all together, you know. The fate of the world is on the line, but it's not as crazy as Infinity War Endgame, and it's also not the first Avengers movie where they're getting their teamwork right. This is like the sweet spot of Avengers where they're a team, and this is the only movie where we see them going on like missions, and it's just a very neat movie. Honestly, I enjoy this movie a lot more than most people. I think I would put it right here. I'll put it right there in B tier. Enjoyable movie, for sure. Flawed at times, yes, but overhated. Ultron's actually a really good villain in my opinion, and I just love the Avengers camaraderie in this film. It's really something else. But that's my tier list ranking of all $53 billion club movies. Let me know yours in the comments down below. What tiers you placing the movies in? Where does Barbie land for you? Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help me reach my goal of 85,000 subscribers here on the channel. It would mean a lot. And check out my Patreon link down below for extra videos, the Discord server, and lots more. You guys are the best. I appreciate your support as always. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.